tonight, to drag the past out into the light. We're one, but we're not the same. We get to carry each other, carry each other.
Hello and welcome to our final Chit-Chat Cafe.
Yep.
But we do have other things to talk about and introduce you to. So this isn't our final stream, but it is our final Chit-Chat Cafe for this summer online programme. So I'm going to hand over to Carolyn, who has prepared today to give you some info.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Carolyn Barber, and it is the last week of our Mental Wealth Academy Summer Online Programme, and it's been a fantastic pilot programme, really. I think we know it's going to continue, just not quite sure what shape it will take, and we're kind of in the process of getting more funding, but also getting more feedback from everyone who's participated in different ways. So it's going to take us a couple of weeks to kind of absorb all the information and the feedback, and look at some of the stats about who's signed up, how many people have engaged with the different courses, and how the engagement's happened. So how many people have watched our YouTube videos. There's lots of different things to look at to see what's worked best. And Sarah was telling me before we came online about how this is now, so this Chit-Chat Cafe is now appearing on 2 Facebook pages, 2 YouTube chats, whatever, all at the same time, isn't it? So
yes,
that's pretty amazing. We're kind of exploring this new technological world of communication.
Yeah, I've been having lots of fun learning all this new tech. Yeah.
So shall I just start with? I was going to share with you a questionnaire that we've been sending out over the last week or so, and just to chat through some of the responses that we've had. It's an anonymous survey, and it's not just for people that have taken part in the programme. It's really about what ideas that people have for the kinds of online workshops that we've been running and for the future, and also because we have to look at how we can continue to provide this. We were fortunate to get funding for this period, but we want to be able to find different ways in which we can continue to offer the courses and workshops. So can we show the questionnaire, and I'll just
So which part do you want to start with, because I've got it split up, so we've got the chart of people that registered, the question about whether people will be able to pay for workshops going forward, and the one about opportunities.
So do you want to look at the opportunities one first? We've got to go backwards a little bit.
Sure.
So we just had just over 20 responses so far. So we would like more, but I think it's interesting that the pattern of the responses hasn't really changed. And about half the people who've responded haven't actually done any of the courses, but still have got important feedback. I think so.
So this was it's quite a lot of different things, isn't there? Mindfulness has come up quite a few times. The trilogues come up a few times. Journal writing.
Yeah,
that's nice.
As people, those are people that have attended those events or courses.
Yes. So should we quickly flip to the register?
Yeah.
And have a look at that. So this shows us who registered. So could you explain this a little bit, Carolyn, so that to understand this chart?
Yeah. So this was a question at the start of the feedback form is, have you registered for any of these courses? And then there's the list of courses from the programme, but there's also an option of none of the above. So people have kind of clicked. Quite a few people are registered for more than one course, so they might have, clicked on more than one course. But it just shows, I suppose, the experiences of the people that are responding to the feedback survey. Does that make sense?
That's really interesting, actually, because the embodiment through movement is one of our most popular courses,
Yes.
but the least amount of overall feedback.
Yes.
So I wonder why that is. It might be because that course hasn't finished yet.
Well, because the journal writing course finished a couple of weeks ago, didn't it? And we have had more feedback from people doing that course than any of the others. My course only finished last week, and I think yours just finished.
It's just finishing this week.
This week, and the arts course is only finishing this week, and
the same with
the dance.
with the embodiment.
Yes. So I think we will get more responses in the next couple of weeks as the courses finish, I think.
Yeah. Well, perhaps we should come back and produce these graphs again online to review and reflect on that. Once that time's passed and we've got a good overview. And because I guess the other thing as well is that the feedback forms specifically for the courses that haven't finished yet, they're not in, so we need to. We're going to be reviewing everything, aren't we?
Yes.
We plan to even look at like the number of hits to certain YouTube videos.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's going to take a while to collate all of that, but it would be useful to perhaps bring that to an online stream in the future when we have collected that, because it's quite interesting to look at this stuff.
Well, I think it will inform us about future plans as well. So when we're coming back and talking about what's going to happen in the future, it's useful to look at what the lessons are that we've learned. Really. Are you able to show the payment chart? I'm just thinking that maybe we could just look at that a little bit, because there are issues obviously around payment that I think is just worth commenting on.
Yeah, this is really interesting.
Is it showing? Or because I can't.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm showing it.
Okay.
What you could do, Karen, if you go to our Facebook page, just make sure you've got the sound off, and you'll be able to see the stream. But there is a little bit of a delay.
I won't do that because that's on another computer. But I know what the result is, because I think it was about. So what we asked people was, would they be willing to pay kind of up to £5 or up to £10 or more than that, or would that be a problem to pay anything at all to take part in the courses? And
there you go.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah. So I think it was about 40%, isn't it, or just slightly under, that said that they would be willing to pay more than £10 if required. Because if you think about it, we're probably talking about several sessions, perhaps of a creative course that if you were going to one in a local community centre, you would pay a small fee for each week for that. So that's the kind of equivalent that we're thinking about. So this is really about trying to kind of cover costs in different ways. So some costs, I think the courses and the workshops that we run will pretty much have to be subsidised in some form through funding, but it's whether we can, gain some income to pay for the costs of the facilitators and their expertise and also the IT costs, because there are costs behind putting all this on that if we were in a venue, we'd be thinking about the cost of the hire of the room and so on. We have to think about the cost of the IT support for all this. And then there's what was it, about 20%, I think, that people have said that actually they would find it really difficult to pay at all. And there was a comment on the questionnaire from someone who works with asylum seekers and refugees, for example, and they had circulated that information out and felt that some people had signed up to our courses, signed up to the program, but they really would not be in a position to pay anything towards that. So so we want to think about, we don't want to exclude people, but on the other hand, some people are willing to contribute. So. Your sound has disappeared, Sarah.
Yeah, no, sorry. I was just seeing if I could bring up another camera for myself so that you guys can see me and the screen. We pulled this together a bit quick this morning, and that's probably my fault for my general disorganisation. Yeah, it's really, I think it's what you're saying is really key there, that we don't want to exclude people. We want to make sure that that everyone's got an opportunity, because opportunities is what we're all about.
Yeah.
And we've always in the past run in the majority of cases we have run things on funding. But I think, like, over the time that we've been going, there's definitely been an increased challenge when it comes to obtaining funding. Where would you say, Carolyn, it is getting harder? There's been a lot of funding bids that we haven't got, and a lot of time is taken, when we're doing that. It's actually quite it's quite challenging to apply for funds. It takes time. It's a lot of the person's time.
One of the ways we've managed to survive as long as we have is we've been going 7 years now as an organisation. This kind of strategy, if you like, has been applying for smaller funding bids rather than much bigger funding bids, which do provide a sense of security, but then they just finish after 3 years or whatever, and you're left with having kind of provided a lot of service, and then the funding ends, and it's actually really difficult to repeat that level of funding. So we've kind of built ourselves up over the period with smaller funding bids, but they all take, it can take as much time to put in a funding bid for £1,000 as it does for £10,000, for example, and then you've got a lot of reporting to do on each of those. So you're right, it's a bit of a mission, but it's kind of worked for us so far. But,
it's workable, but it has a price tag attached to it. It takes it is like a lot of our every committee meeting that we have, we're sat there sort of talking about how we bring in our next lot of money, aren't we?
So I'm just wondering whether that's a good kind of segue into introducing some fundraising activities that you're talking about, that you've been talking about, and that actually people can join in with, which would be, really good.
Yeah.
There you are.
Hopefully you can see me now. I've just now appeared, so
Yeah.
oh, sorry about that. Let's just make sure that's on mute.
So I mean, some things, that we've not been, our track record of doing fundraising activities has not been great, really. So a lot of charities are a lot better at it than we are. But you've got a kind of a plan, haven't you, based on the online experience that you've been getting for the last.
Yes.
I can now. Let me just say, I can now see 3 screens. And one of the screens has got both of us on.
Yeah.
And then
because what's happening now? Oh bless. I'm totally making you anxious now, aren't I? So what I've done now, just for the sake of Carolyn in the Zoom, I'm in on 2 different devices, and I've got 2 cameras running. So one camera you're seeing is the stream. That's what everyone else is seeing. And the other camera is my other device, and that's what. So people on the stream aren't seeing that. That's just you're seeing that, Carolyn.
Okay, fine.
I'm challenging the realms of new technological ideas here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just so that you can see what I'm sharing on the actual stream. Because often when we've done these, I've noticed you've been kind of like disengaged in a sense to the community watching. You're not quite sure how it's looking on the comments. So this is quite a nice way for you to see actually how it looks.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can even pull the comments in so it shows them on the screen as well. So we might do that in a future one.
Right.
But going back to the fundraising ideas, basically I've been having lots of fun working out all this online streaming and developing different ideas and seeing how everything works. It's been a lot of fun. And what I've realised is that this is an ideal way of delivering events with no overhead. I mean, there's a bit of an overhead in terms of some of the costs I'm paying for this fancy streaming stuff, but it's minimal compared to a venue. So basically, my idea is to run 2 months of a festival, an online festival, and this is going to incorporate various different types of artistic events. In fact, we have got confirmation from a Portsmouth burlesque troupe who are going to do a showcase fundraising event for us online on the Creative Mental Health page on the 11th, I think it is, on the 11th of next month. So that's really exciting, and that's going to be at let me just double check the times. I have created a Facebook event, so feel free to go ahead and have a look at that, and I'll just see if I can pull that up just to double check while I'm here.
Yeah, you could post a link to that, couldn't you, in the page?
Yeah, I'll put the link into the chat. And they're an amazing group. They're a Portsmouth group, and they've actually got their own show coming up where I think this is going to be one of the first shows that they've done for a while since the lockdown, because things are starting to shift a little bit now, and there are some events opening up for face-to-face events, and they do have one scheduled. But we're bringing it online, so that makes it even more available. It makes it available across the world, and they're a great act, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And we've also got an event planned for a discussion panel about the benefits of dance on our mental health. And then later in October, there's going to be a discussion panel on the benefits of improv comedy to mental health. Okay. I was actually inspired by one of my improv friends who I've met during lockdown, because he runs the Extremed Improv company. I think they're based in London. And over lockdown, he's been doing a lot of shows streamed online called Extreme Improv. And it's so much fun. Check them out, guys, because he's doing some great work. It's really, really good fun. If you don't know what improv comedy is, it's basically when the audience give you the suggestions of what you want to see in the performers do. And then they have to just go with whatever the suggestion is into some wacky kind of scene. It's great. So he's been doing loads of stuff for a sort of an online festival that he's been running, and as part of that we had a discussion panel on the benefits of improv to mental health. And I've actually put the recording of that panel discussion up on the Creative Mental Health page, so check it out, because it's really interesting conversation. But we're going to do another one, and we're going to do it as part of our festival, and our festival is going to be called the Festival of Good Mental Health. So this is going to be one of the awesome events that we have. So we're going to have that probably in October. We haven't organised a date for that yet, so my phone's ringing. I don't know if you can hear that. Oh, and my answer phone's come on. Hopefully it's nothing too personal. No, thankfully they've hung up. So we've got a discussion panel on the benefits of dance, and that is going to happen on the 29th, which is a Tuesday, the 29th of September. That's a Tuesday at 7 o'clock. We've got the Rock with Foxes fundraiser showcase on the 11th, and that is at 8 o'clock. And then on the 2nd of October, we're going to have a dance variety show, and I'm working on various different dance acts showcasing there for a fundraiser event too. So all of our events across the 2 months are all going to be asking for donations, and the donations are all going to be going towards the Mental Wealth Academy, well, the Good Mental Health Cooperative, I should say, in order for continued development and sustainability in this difficult time, and so we can keep doing the work. So yeah, there's loads. I feel like I've just totally rambled there.
No, that sounds well. It sounds very exciting. So we'll kind of keep people up to date with the plans for events, and hopefully encourage people to join in. And it's difficult, isn't it? I'm not someone that's found it easy to engage online with events and things, but it's getting there, and it's a new world, isn't it? And if we need to find different ways of engaging with the arts and entertainment and things. It's not really possible to go back to theatres and events for a while, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of happening a little bit where we are seeing some live performance acts again. I know the Mayflower have opened up a little bit for some comedy nights on a Thursday. Right. And as I say, Rock with Foxes, they have got an event coming up, and I think that's in Portsmouth. I'll put the details for that within the fundraiser event if anyone's interested. But how long that's going to go on for, we're not sure, and capacity in these places are restricted. And there's going to be a community of people that don't want to go out,
Yes,
you know, and
absolutely.
they're worried about
Yeah,
going out.
yeah, that's right.
So streaming isn't going to go away,
No,
and we've learnt that it works.
yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And going back to what the improv guy is doing, he's just showed the world really how you can do drama. You can totally create a full show within Zoom. And then off the back of that, with a group that I belong to called the Comedy Lab, so we meet down normally at the Point in Eastleigh. We've been doing a little comedy show called the Number 2 Show. And that's been like a mixture of videos and Zoom, so there's sort of live acts within Zoom and then like the odd video mixed in. So the benefits of doing a show online are really, you know, there's actually some really strong benefits because you can add in videos, so somebody could pre-record a performance if they don't want to do it in Zoom. Then they can show that video, and so that gives it a real extra dynamic, and also it's like a worldwide community. So if you're sitting there and you're an artist and you're thinking, hey, I've got something I want to show and I'd really love to support you guys, then get in touch. Because I'm open to hosting an array of different types of artistic events. If you normally run an event and you've struggled over lockdown to know how you can carry on with that, get in touch. Let's talk about how we can get that online, because there are ways and it works. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a brilliant initiative, I think, and a fantastic way of hopefully, you know, raising some of the funds we need to continue this kind of work and open up opportunities for people to, you know, engage themselves in creative workshops and courses and work on well-being generally. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And in October it's World Mental Health Day, isn't it? Which before lockdown I was beginning to plan what we were going to do for World Mental Health Day, you know, really in advance, talking to a venue about it, and then it all disappeared. So it would be great to mark that as well with this festival.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. And the coming up with this has been quite a creative process. So just over the last couple of weeks, really, having been involved, as I say, with extreme improv stuff online, seeing what's going on, what people are doing over Zoom, and then giving that a go with this show that I do with the Comedy Lab, and then kind of thinking, right, how can that come about with some dance, with some poetry, with some open mic, and the connections. I'm really thinking about, I mean, what I've been thinking about is that within all those things, when it comes to any sort of creative group, and I've noticed this in our art group as well, and probably it's happening in the belly dance group that we're running as part of the Mental Wealth Academy, is the connections. The connections that we build with people, and that fun of learning together, connecting together, and how actually over lockdown that has become worldwide. I've connected with people across the globe over lockdown by adapting some of the things that I was doing to being online. And it's been really, truly wonderful, actually, where I really struggled at the beginning of lockdown, found it very overwhelming, very difficult. Then I had a period of kind of it settled. And then the last 2 weeks I've felt a bit more like myself. I've felt quite inspired by people. Yeah, and that's just got me whirling away, and I've come up with this idea like this from like a bit of an organic process of just sort of reaching out to a few people, and then it came together, and now it's this big idea.
Yeah.
And then I've thrown it on Carolyn just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, but I mean I think that's been our experience generally in the cooperative, is that that's almost how things happen, isn't it? Is that it, you know, it
Yeah.
needs a bit of inspiration, and then you can kind of run with it and see where it goes, and that's the energy behind a lot of our projects and ideas has come from different people. So no, that's great. It's funny, isn't it? The journey, the journey through lockdown as well. You know, emotionally and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And I just wondered if we could. I mean, I had a bit of a question when I was thinking about this Chit Chat Cafe about the overall question of how does creativity actually help our mental health? And I just wondered about, a few comments on that from us, because there's something about engaging in creative activities, not necessarily having an amazing talent, but just playing with it and kind of engaging is that's really good for us.
I'm just writing this in the comments.
All right, just emotionally, and it's absorbing. It absorbs us, so it kind of brings us into the here and now as well. It helps us come out of our heads somehow, and be more in our feelings and bodies and emotions. But also, I think seeing art, seeing is kind of like engaging with art, not just the doing of it, but engaging in it in terms of viewing it and seeing it and feeling a part of, like you're saying about the shows and seeing great art, listening to great music, looking at dance. That is also important for us, isn't it? That there's something about the way in which that connects with us emotionally and helps. It can be inspirational, it can be soothing, it can kind of help with difficult feelings, but it can also engage us with joy and those sort of things that sometimes we can't express ourselves necessarily. Sorry, I just went on a bit of a rant there.
No, so it's about time you took the stage on ranting. I totally agree with everything you just said there. The connections with people as well, that there's something that just happens between people when you're learning, creating something together. Everything you just said, connections, the calming quality of it, the expression. It's
I think it's really important. Well, in a way, that's one of the things that's been talked about more during lockdown, isn't it? Is that the arts are often seen as a sort of an extra in society somehow, that but they're not. It's so important for our kind of humanity, really, on lots of different levels.
Definitely. And I think that's been really highlighted over this period too, is how crucial those connections are, and that ability to express and find relief, like you say, that humanity it's a humane need, isn't it? Even if you go back hundreds of years, we made music,
and art, and I'm sure we're dancing too. So
definitely.
And I think it has been a challenge, hasn't it, on the online, it's kind of a challenge of how can you recreate some of the connections that happen when you're in real life, engaging in groups or in performances or live, all those sorts of things that are live. that like you're saying about the connecting with other people is really important, and it's a challenge about how to try and recreate that online. It's difficult, but there are, certainly through our program, that has happened, hasn't it? And so it's looking at how to build on that, to see what works in terms of people making those, connections in the live workshops online.
Definitely.
It's possible. It's different, and it's something we need to kind of work on and build up, I think.
Yeah, and I guess that brings us full circle back to what people want to see us do coming forward.
Yeah.
So should we go to that? I think I just need to pull that slide in. So let me just pull that in and set this out so you can see it. Oh. There we go. So are there any other workshops or courses you'd like to see as part of a future program? So someone said, I love the selection you choose for this summer. I think expanding on them, but also adding some new things. Bullet journaling, that's interesting. I don't know what that is, so we'd need to find out about that.
Yeah.
And tapping, and I think that's like an alternative therapy type thing, isn't it?
Yes, emotional freedom technique,
Okay.
which I think could lend itself quite well to an online setup. It's interesting, interesting therapy.
Okay. So if anyone out there does that and fancies approaching us about something you might want to do, let us know. And poetry and story time, and I like that because I recently did an online workshop around storytelling, and it was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. So yeah, that would be great to see some sort of storytelling workshops, or just like story time, sort of readings.
Yeah.
So just like more of a show event, which actually I am hoping to get some poetry open mic, like a poetry slam event. As part of our festival,
right,
online, so we may well meet that suggestion there.
Yeah.
Pottery, but obviously that's more difficult online. Dealing with anxiety and stress. Another thing I've been thinking of is the possibility of running a therapy group using CBT. So that's something that we have had some online courses around managing worry, and there's extensions to that around sort of more generalised anxiety and stress. Circle dancing, that's an interesting one for online. I hear somebody's doing it. It's possible apparently, so that I want to find out more. Implementing goals. Okay, so that's an interesting one. So, and that's definitely something that could be done as an online course. Goal setting.
And I mean, we might be able to do more sort of single workshops as well, that are kind of introducing people to different ideas. I mean, we've kind of had courses, haven't we? More. It's just playing around with some different ideas.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much scope. We can have one-off workshops. We can definitely have more streamed show type things, and that's what we're going to see over the next couple of months with the festival to raise some money. And then going from that, once we've established some funds, we can then put on some either one-off workshops for creative stuff, and we can also run some more online courses for the sort of stress management, the implementing goals. Yeah.
I can see
Exciting.
scrapbooking there. I
Yeah.
can see scrapbooking definitely as an online course. That's a fantastic thing to have a go at.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
That would be really fun.
yeah,
And of course, on the website where we've got the courses, we've got the community forum pages.
yeah,
So the scrapbooking, like I know the arts group, they've used it a lot to put up the stuff that they're doing and
yeah,
talk to each other and share, and that's been lovely. And so I think that would be the same with a scrapbooking course, that you could really get engaged with each other in sharing what you're doing and
yeah.
having a chat about it. So that sounds cool.
Okay.
That's
So I
great.
think we probably need to wind up
Yeah,
now.
right.
But it's been it's been a really brilliant experience the last couple of months. So it certainly won't be the last of it.
Yeah,
We'll be
yeah.
talking to all our tutors and facilitators and getting the feedback and coming up with some new plans. So watch this space.
Definitely, and more to come about the Good Mental Health Festival.